Hey guys, it's Peter and welcome to my channel, Peter Watches TV, where I watch all the TV shows and then I come over here and I react to them. And today, we are getting in on the ground floor, you guys. Today, I have Season 1, Episode 1 of 1,000-Pound Roomies. You guys are not going to want to miss this. I watched the first episode last night. I took a lot of notes. I have all the notes for you guys. I didn't really know what to expect going in and watching this, and I was blown away. I love the sincerity of these women on the show. I love their authenticity. I love their humor. There is not anything about this show that I don't love already, and I would highly, highly, highly recommend that you guys watch it. It is on TLC. It is one of their new, if you're into the weight loss shows like 1,000-Pound Sisters, 1,000-Pound Best Friends, this is a new edition. It's called 1,000-Pound Roomies, and it is absolutely fantastic. So before I get into my notes, I want to kind of give you guys just the background to this, okay? It is about these two friends whose names are Jasmine, she goes by Jazz, and Nisha, and they met online, and I'll explain to you in a little bit how they met. They met on like an online forum for bigger women, and they became friends, and then to kind of help each other out financially, they moved in together. Jasmine also has a 9-year-old daughter whose name is Nana, and who's very, very sweet and very endearing. And so it's these two friends together just trying to help each other out through life. I will say this, one of the things that I really loved about this show, and for those of you that do not know, I started on another one of my channels like a year and a half ago, this weight loss journey, and I just did like maintenance for like 9 months and finally decided to just like stop it. I was like, I don't think that I should continue to do this online anymore. It's not helpful to me. I think people are getting bored of it. And it was like, as soon as I stopped it, I started doing the things that I needed to do. Like I started walking almost every day for about 2 hours. I've been lifting weights. I've been eating healthier. And so taking it offline, it really helped me for a while online to be accountable, but taking it offline really helped me. To put all this out there on TV, I think is so hard to begin with. But you know, having done that, there's a lot of words that are very offensive to people. That when you're talking about, even if I'm talking about my own weight, there's a lot of words that people are very, very offended about, you know, and I would say something, you know, like in my video, I would say a word like, obviously, you know, a lot of people are offended by saying fat, but I would say a word describing myself and somebody, and I didn't even know, but somebody say, I don't like that word's offensive to me. I think it's interesting in speaking about our own weight that people are offended when we use words about our own weight. And I don't even know, to be honest with you, it almost, to some degree, as somebody that's been bigger most of my life, it almost is more empowering for me. And I don't even, to be honest with you, really think about it when I refer to myself as bigger, or I'll even use like, I mean, offline with my friends and stuff, I know it's offensive to people online, so I don't usually use it, but I'll say like, you know, fat and things. I mean, that's, to me, I mean, if somebody looked at me and said, you fat ass over there, yeah, that pissed me off, but describing it myself that way, like feeling like, God, I look so fat, like, or I feel really fat today, like, I don't, to me, that's ownership of my own body, and this is my body, and I have a right to describe it the way that I want to. And one of the things I loved about this show is that they embrace all these terms that I think a lot of people use offline that are really, really, that people are afraid to, because I think that people don't know what words to use, and they use a lot of it. There's a scene where they're going to the beach and they sing this song in the car. I actually have my notes on it. Where is it at when they're going to the beach? And they're singing this song, and this song is so funny. We'll get to it in just a second. But she's talking, anyway, they sing this song, and this song is so funny. I'll get to that in just a second. But just some of the wording that they use, I was like, you know what? It's very real to me, because it's how I talk to my friends that struggle with their weight as well. I mean, I have friends of mine that are accountability partners to each other, just like this show. And I'll say to one of my friends, God, I feel like huge today. I feel like such a fat ass. You know, like, yeah, it would piss me off if somebody said that to me, but if I say it about myself, you know, my friend will be like, oh my God, I feel the same way. Or, you know, like, hey, what do we need to do to get you out of this state of mind? And it was refreshing to see it, because I think often on these weight loss shows, like Vanessa on 1,000-Pound Best Friends was one of the first people that I had seen on one of these weight loss shows. Besides like the Slayton sisters, they would say those things and whatever, but I think like anywhere that's not reality television, people are very, very, I mean, even in my coverage of it, you know, I try to be very sensitive and stuff because I know that people that are watching it, I'm sure even talking about this today, I'll get at least one comment that somebody will say, no, those words are offensive to me, you know, whatever. But I think in describing our own bodies, we have a right to use the words that we want to use, describing our own bodies. And that was one of the things that was really refreshing to me about this show. So let's get into it. So it's season 1 of episode 1 of season 1 of 1,000 Pound Roomies. And the episode is called Attack of the Snacks. And so Jazz and Nisha live in this apartment. I believe it's in Los Angeles because they go to Venice Beach at one point. They say it's about 45 minutes away. And they are driving to go eat, and they're going through like a drive-through, and they're talking about how they met on a SSBW site. They're so funny just in how they tell the stories. And it's a super-sized, beautiful woman site. And they go through this whole thing about how there's like big, beautiful women, like BBWs, and then there's like, and so they added this extra category, which is super size, and they laugh at that. They're like in this whole other category. And then Nisha says that they say that, like, some people like to go, some women like to go to the spa, or they like to go shopping, but they like to go eat. I will tell you one thing, trying to eat really healthy. You know, when I watch, like, Amy Slayton cook in the kitchen, and she's making shrimp fettuccine with, like, some disgusting paste sauce in it, I never get hungry. When I watch a lot of these shows, the food they eat does not look appetizing to me at all. What Nisha and Jazz eat on this show, except for the sushi dinner that they have when they're trying to eat healthy, the burgers they get, the fries, I mean, I'm a vegetarian, but I can still eat down an Impossible Burger like nobody's business. The fries, foods they eat, the fries, the breakfast sandwiches, and like everything they eat is exactly what I love. I will say that was a little difficult for me. I was getting so hungry watching it last night. Thank God I was taking my notes. So they go through this drive-through, and then, and they're so honest. Like, Jazz is really, really honest on the show. And she says she barely ever leaves the house because of her size. And she asks Nisha, she's like, how many times have we done takeout this week? And they've done takeout 16 times that week. They say food is like their therapy. It's like a drug for them. So then they're back home, and that's when they introduce Jazz's daughter, whose name is Nana, and they share that she's been diagnosed with autism when she was 3 years old. They also have a dog named Riley, and they're all together, and they talk about how Nisha and Jazz kind of co-parent Nana a little bit. Jazz doesn't seem to really leave her bed a lot. She talks a lot about mobility issues and that it's really hard for her to get around. She also talks about how it's really hard for her to get in cars because not only is she bigger, but she's also very tall. And so, like, when she calls an Uber at the end of the show, when they're going to eat this healthy sushi dinner, like, the car, like, she can't almost get in the car because it's also, like, she's so tall as well. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So then, it's very sad at times, but very funny too. Like, you can tell they use their humor as kind of like a guard through all this. I mean, they're hysterical. They're absolutely hysterical. But one moment, and this is what I loved about them. I think it reminds me of a lot of my friendships. One moment they'll be like laughing at each other, not each other, but like with each other. And then the next second they're like having a very like sensitive moment. It's just very endearing. And so Jazz is in the bedroom doing her makeup with a ring light, and she shouts to Nisha. The dog is like pissed on the floor. She's like, the dog pissed on the floor. So Nisha's like trying to clean it out. Nisha's got this like, I don't know what it is. It's like this big long like scarf towel kind of thing, and she's got it wrapped all around her and stuff like this. And she comes in the room, and Jazz is like, oh, she goes, can you get me some snacks? And Nisha's like, so Nisha does a lot of the cleaning and the housework and the cooking because it's just really hard for Jazz to move around. Nisha's bigger too, but they make it very clear that Nisha's not as big as Jazz. And so she comes in this room, and she's got this outfit on, and Nisha's like, that is not going to work this summer. She's like, no, this is how it's going to be all summer. And she's like, well, what if the guy from Amazon comes? And she's like, then this is what he gets. They're just hilarious together. They talk about how they support each other. And then they have this like sit down where they're talking about, and very similar to other shows. And, you know, it's interesting now, like watching 1,000 Pound Best Friends, which I love that show too. But like 1,000 Pound Best Friends doesn't really get into a lot of this kind of stuff. Whereas 1,000 Pound Sisters did, and now this show does. So I'm thinking this show is going to be like the next 1,000 Pound Sisters to some degree. They talk about how it's really hard to like take showers and clean in the shower. Jazz says she has like 3 loofahs on where she can like, you know, reach for things. And they talk about different areas of cleaning. They talk about how they're really afraid that they're going to fall in the shower, how they almost fall in the shower a lot. Jazz is in there doing her makeup, and she asks Nisha to bring her some. She's like, can you bring me some snacks? And so that's when they describe that Nisha is smaller, so she does most of the cooking and cleaning. And then that's when Jazz makes fun of Nisha's outfit, and then Nisha makes her promise to go to the pool later. They're just always laughing and stuff. And Nisha says in that moment, she's like, I'm always trying to get her out of the house to do stuff because she hardly ever leaves the house. And so she wants her to go to the pool. They go to the pool, and Jazz is really, really nervous. She said, she never leaves the house hardly. And Jazz has a really hard time walking there. They have this chair they take with them, and like they have to stop so she can sit in the chair on the way to the pool. She describes herself as a homebody, and she said she's always been big, and then she went through this really bad breakup. This is the other thing I loved about the show, is that they explain right out of the gate, both of them, their weight gain and their childhood trauma and stuff like that. Like, Nisha was brought up in this, like, religious cult. She talked about how her family left when she was 22, and that they withheld eating during the, the church services and stuff, so she wouldn't eat till late at night, and then she would binge eat all her food. And so it, like, started this, like, binge eating thing that she does. And Jazz talked about how she was always bigger, and then she just progressively gained weight through the years, but then after she went through a really bad breakup, she just, like, poured herself. They talk a lot about emotional eating on the show, and I really like that, because I relate to that. I'm somebody that definitely suffers from emotional eating. She said Jazz says that she's tried pills and diets, but not weight loss surgery, and she wants to do weight loss surgery. But she's really, really scared of the anesthesia, because a lot of people at their size don't come out of the anesthesia, and they're at high risk. They get in the pool, and Nisha is, like, really, really proud of her. It reminded me kind of like, when Tammy Slayton got in the pool in the early seasons of 1,000 Pound Sisters. And she was kind of scared of, like, her weight in the pool, but then she was really happy. And Jazz is like, I don't know how I'll get out of the pool. She says her mobility is really hard for her, and that she's in 24/7 pain all the time. But she always tries to keep a smile on her face. And I noticed that. Like, there's moments that are very real, and she cries, but throughout it all, she really is, like, has a smile on her face. She says she wants to go places and be normal and do what she needs to do for her daughter. Her main motivation for losing weight and doing weight loss surgery is that she wants to live longer, and she also wants to be able to be the mom she wants to be to her daughter, and also be there for her daughter, be alive for her daughter. Nisha comes up with this plan that they're going to go to the beach. Jazz says she doesn't feel like it. She said she's embarrassed because people take pictures of her, and that when she's home, she feels safe. She goes into this whole thing about how people laugh at her and they take pictures of her. As somebody that has had a picture of me that was from something my husband took, that has had that picture of me on the beach, gutted like a beached whale, put all over the internet, I totally relate to that. I've actually thought about, so there's this picture of me, and I'm, like, laying in a lounge chair gutted, and it's been thrown up all over the internet by people that don't like me. And I've really thought about, like, putting on a t-shirt, you know, and be like, live your best life. I'm not, like, the picture doesn't shame anymore. It just reminds me of how far I've come, in all honesty. But I think, like, if you really want to show somebody you're a nasty person, like, really truly make fun of their weight. And that's what she's talking about in this moment. You know, when you're on the receiving end of that, you really know how it feels. And Jazz doesn't want to go to the beach because she's like, people are they, like, laugh at her face. They say stuff to her. They take pictures of her. I mean, I just think you want to talk about a really cruel person. I mean, like, that's just, it's really nasty. And so when she says when she's at home, she feels like she's safe. Then they're eating these breakfast sandwiches, and she's putting this breakfast sandwich together. It looks so good, and with these hash browns and stuff. And Jazz says that Nisha is trying to control her, but Nisha says she's just determined to get her to the beach, and when she gives her food that she wants to eat, she can convince her to do the things that she wants to do. Which later Jazz says she's an enabler, and I can see where she is. Like, they have this whole discussion about Nisha being this enabler, and I can see that. And Nisha makes it clear she does not want the weight loss surgery at all. She's supportive of Jazz getting it, but she doesn't want it for herself at all. Then they talk about Jazz says that she has all these bikinis, and that's when she shares that she's, like, a social media model. And she doesn't really get into it a whole lot. I actually followed both of them on Instagram last night because I'm intrigued. But she was talking about how, like, she has a lot of people that follow her because of her weight and things like that. I think she was kind of implying, like, men that fetishize that, but I don't know. Like, I couldn't really, tell what she meant by that. She says that she's the breadwinner, and, like, Nisha pats her leg, and that she makes pretty good money off of being an influencer online. She says the last time that she walked on the beach was as a kid. And then they head to Venice Beach, and they're talking about this chair that they're trying to put together and construct and hold down so that Jazz can sit on this chair on the beach. They talk about things that are going to annoy them at the beach. They talk about how the seagulls are going to steal their food. That's what Nisha says. And then Jazz talks about, then they talk about sinking into the sand because they're heavier than most people, so they sink into the sand more. And then they sing this song about fat hotties in the car. And that's what I love so much. They're like a bunch of fat hotties going to the beach. I was like, I live. Like, this is me and my friends, okay? We used to say back in the day, like, I don't know that I've ever said this online because people take such criticism, but my girlfriend and I back in the day, we used to always say, big girls doing big things. We used to always say, big girls doing big things, you know? And I kind of love that ownership of it, you know? Not that you have to stay there, but that you, like, that's how you kind of get through it a little bit, you know? Just because I said big girls being big things didn't mean that I wanted to be a big girl for the rest of my life, you know what I mean? Like, anyway, so then Jazz pulls this bag of snacks from underneath her bikini, and Nisha's like, where'd you get those snacks? And she's like, if she feels triggered going out in public, like, she's gonna have a snack with her, because a snack will make her feel better. They get to the beach, and Jazz is not feeling it. She's like, I'm not getting out. She sees all the people in their bikinis, and she just wants to crawl under a rock, is what she says. She just does not want to go. She says she feels like she doesn't belong, like she is not part of this. She's embarrassed. She's afraid that people are going to laugh at her and take pictures of her. She doesn't feel like dealing with people. She starts crying, and she gets really, really upset in the car. She says she can't do it. She goes, I won't do it. Nisha gets out of the car, and she's real annoyed because of Jazz's fear of these people that are staring at her and stuff like that. And she's like, people stare at me too. She's like, I don't care. She's like, I have a right to belong here just like everybody else. And I was like, amen. Amen. I love that. I understand Jazz's fear of not wanting to get out of the car. I mean, I can't even imagine how that would be, you know, like when you have to deal with that every time you go out into public. But Nisha's just like, and Nisha's not as big as Jazz, but Nisha's like, I'm not dealing with it. She's like, I have a right to be here just as much as everybody else. And she's like, it's not easy for me either. She says, this is when she shares that she's been big her entire life. She talks about growing up in a religious cult, that the pastor controlled everything, including when they ate. She talks about how they couldn't eat until the evenings, and then she would binge eat all this food in the evening. Her family left when she was 22, and now she's just doing her best to deal with the trauma. So they're already kind of setting up the story for, like, the background of why they are, you know, like, they've gained so much weight and they use food as, like, emotional support and things like that. Then she goes to the stand and she orders all this food. Again, food, like, funnel cakes. This, like, one of those hot dogs, those specialty hot dogs, corn dogs. Oh, my God, it looked all so good. She says that food is their love language. She talks about food in the Black community and how, like, going to funerals, going to weddings, like when somebody's sick, you like everything you do around food and how important food is in the Black community. I thought it was really, really interesting that she shared a lot of that. And I love that aspect that she brought that into the show and talked about how important, like, on not just a food level as like sustenance, but like on an emotional level within the Black community, what a role food plays. I love that she did that. Not as like an excuse for why she eats, but just explaining about the importance of food in their culture. I thought it was really cool that she did that. She takes the food to Jazz and they sit there and they eat. I put in there, the food they eat is the food that I love. I put that in there. Jazz wants to be able to go to the beach, but instead, she says, I want to go to the beach, but instead I'm sitting here and I'm eating all this food. And she's like, it's like when a switch is turned on, it's turned on and I can't turn it off with the food. Then they're back at home, and Jazz is helping her daughter do her homework in bed, and there's a lot of, like, I love yous and stuff like that. Her daughter is so sweet. She says mentally she's the ideal mother, but physically she's not at all. And she needs to focus on her weight because she doesn't want to miss out on anything. And she says she is going to do what she needs to do to change it and be a better mother for her daughter. So then it's day one of her eating healthy is the next day, and she's convinced Nisha to go do it with her. And so they're going to go get sushi because Nisha heard that all the skinny girls eat sushi. Okay, this Nisha girl is, I mean, they are both, one of the things that I love about this is that they are, like, their personalities are kind of like polar opposites. They're completely different. And they play off of each other so well. And Nisha is just like, she does this little dance, the whole time she's like, when she's eating, she does this little dance. It's hilarious. And she's like talking about how all the skinny girls eat sushi. Jazz calls an Uber because she's got to meet her at the restaurant. She has not been to a restaurant in 15 years. I could not believe it when she said it. She's too tall to get into this Uber. The driver's super nice and like helps her in the car and stuff like that. She said she's really scared about going to restaurants because she doesn't know about the sizes of the chairs and stuff like that. They have to move this table for her. She says she don't want to be responsible breaking people's furniture. So whenever she goes to somebody's house or whatever, she's always like looking at the furniture, the wood, to be like, okay, is this going to break? Is it not going to break? I thought that was interesting that she kind of talked through her whole like thinking system of like whenever she goes somewhere that she's always aware of her size and how it affects people around her. I just thought it was really interesting how she shared all that. So then they have this sushi on a conveyor belt, and Nisha's like, just like grab what you want. And this is where Jazz says that she feels like she's missing out on life because she's missing out on all these experiences. Then they eat all this food, and Jazz looks up the calories and realizes that they have like, it's like sushi is not really that healthy. They've eaten like thousands of calories of sushi, and they're both still hungry at the end of it. So it wasn't even that filling to them. I have so been there before when I've eaten like tons of what I thought was healthy food, and I so related to that. Then this friend named Melinda, Jazz's friend, is coming over that's a vegan. They're not going to be vegans. The producer's like, are you going to be vegans? They're like, no, but she's going to inspire us to eat healthier. And they're like, it's not in the cards for us to be vegans. And she's Jazz's friend, and she hasn't seen her in 2 years, and she's gained a lot of weight, and she's really embarrassed because they grew up together, and they had like a lot of dreams together, and now she's like, the dreams are falling apart because her weight is holding her back. Her friend says that she's terrified for her. It's really, really dangerous to be her size, and she wants to motivate her. So they look at this life expectancy calendar. This kind of freaked me out a little bit, honestly. And so Jazz is 40 years old, she shares, and they do this whole life expectancy calculator based on her weight and all that kind of stuff. And it says that people that answered similarly to her, their life expectancy was 44. And it literally shocks her system. I mean, it's really kind of scary for a first episode that they're putting this in there. She starts crying, thinking about her daughter. She talks about how she's going to leave a child behind. And she gets really, really upset. And she says it's a wake-up call for her. And Jazz says she feels like a failure. And she says she's going to talk to a doctor. She wants to live. So then they go to the doctor, and she said the calculator really, really opened her eyes as far as the life expectancy. She wants to get the weight loss surgery. Nisha has no desire to get the weight loss surgery, but she's there to support Jazz. Jazz hasn't been to the doctor in 2 years, so she has no idea about her weight, if she's diabetic, her blood test. She has no idea about any of that. And she really doesn't want to go in. Like, they pull in, and she goes, just leave. I don't want to go. Nisha convinced her to go in. She like starts looking for her chips, and then Nisha's like, you can't have chips, but maybe afterwards we can get a diet slushie. And so she's like, where are we going to get a diet slushie from? And then that's when she calls her an enabler. They go in, and Nisha is like eating these treats in this bar in the waiting, or in the doctor's office room. And so she hides the treats real quick when the bariatric surgeon comes in. And also, when the vegan friend comes in, they were like eating all these snacks. And her friend's like, where are these snacks from? And Jazz is like, oh, we were eating snacks. And Nisha's like, she's like, where's your snacks? And she goes, I wasn't eating any snacks. I don't know what you're talking about. It's real funny. The bariatric surgeon asks them why they're there. And Jazz explains about the life expectancy thing and her daughter and that she wants to live and all this kind of stuff. And so then they go in to weigh her. She said she hasn't been weighed in over a year. She thinks she's somewhere between 500 and 600 pounds. And then the episode ends. But wait. I did watch the first 5 minutes of the next episode, which is already out. The first 2 episodes are already out. Because I wanted to see what her weight was, because I knew that they were going to use that as a cliffhanger. And so she currently is weighing in at 630 pounds. But I just waited until then so I could share that with you guys, because I knew maybe some people would be interested. I am loving this show. It's so endearing. It is so real. I love these 2 women together. They are so fantastic. The trailer for the whole season looks like a lot of like really scary stuff happens, and that it could get really, really emotional. So just put that trigger out there for you. But I would really recommend this show, at least to try it, if you like these kind of shows. So anyway, if you're watching it, let me know in the comment section below. I'm going to watch the second episode and then come back and do my reaction to that. Might be tomorrow. It might be next week. I don't know. I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.